Well, it's come this far that I'm in my second class semester. And so hopefully this is effective. What I ended up doing was looking back into the first course, looking at my growth goals, and I had come up with actually 5. So I was trying to show video evidence of those 5. So the first one was providing scales or rubrics. And so in my German 1 excerpt of the video, I tried to get them to talk about the 4 ways we assess our common interim assessments, or CIAs, with lowest being below basic, then going up to basic, proficient, and then up to advanced. But it was like we hadn't practiced that explicitly. And so I noticed, whoops, I think we take that for granted, but I need to be, so maybe I should change my rating in this, but I try to go over it frequently because we do it each unit, and we're on unit 5, meaning they've had this 5 times throughout the beginning of the year, well, school year. So I don't know. Maybe I rated myself too high on it, but I figured for going over it and bringing their attention. But then they were like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. Just trying to get them to come up with, you know what I mean with that one. And so then they would journal what their expectations are in the pre-journal of before they start each unit. Where would they like to have an outcome in that unit, depending on their level. Then the second part is a little bit of student interaction. So they would post this in a discussion board and kind of put their ideas out there, but also be able to read each other's and interact and reply. And then there was a lot of self-assessment. So they have to determine where they feel they fall on the scales, especially so there's a middle, there's a during, how are you doing, check-in point. So you saw that on the German 2 video. And then on the end of it, there's a post journal when they're complete. So they did that for their 4th unit. And they kind of said, where did I end up? How did my learning, did it end up where I wanted it to? And what styles or what things did I do to help my learning? They set short-term and long-term goals academically. They connect to the community and greater good, and that's what spawned on our idea of the end of the first course and how we could help was to go to Cottonwood Elementary and teach them German. And so another feedback I got, 2 things I want to mention about that are in this this unit. They said, we want to do that again. So you saw that on the video, or if you didn't see it, they did put that in their response. I want to go to Cottonwood again. And then I had a Cottonwood student come to me during our track practice and go, you're Mrs. Glasser, right? And you came over with German. So it was just like a reaffirmation, like it's still sticking with them, that great project. So I just wanted to fill you in on that, even though it's maybe not in the video. So using informal assessments of the whole class was another thing I was focusing on, where students would self-assess and rate where they fell. Sometimes we ask, do you care where you are in the grand scheme? Sometimes I have one unit, so like a German 2 student in that video you saw, one student there within a class of like 3 or 4, I guess it's 4 German 2 students. And so I was asking that student in German 3, you're kind of a one person in this class, but do you care where your other Unit 3 students are throughout the day? Do you care where they are in the unit? And typically they said, I don't care where other students are, even if they were alone in the class. But a couple of them did say, I care about the period 7 student. You heard him say maybe in the video. So we need to maybe practice with the rubrics a little bit more to figure out, because I offered them, you could use the 1 through 4 rating, or you could use a scale of 1 to 10. And so it varied. Some people used the scale of 1 to 10. And then the other thing I was trying to evidence or show proof of that was motivating and inspiring students. And so that was those academic goals, relating it to themselves and possible future selves, connecting to the community and greater good. And then there's a gratitude moment in the German 2 video. So some of them were like, I'm thinking really hard on this. I'm thinking too hard. Why am I thankful? So just being able to learn another language was some of the responses I got. That's the hard part of this, is you can't see their responses. So if you want me to send you, like I did first course, little excerpts of what they've typed in as their responses. And then mindfulness of the whole class, because sometimes in the German unit or level 1, a lot of those are 8th grade students, but there are a couple sophomores in there, and they're all at the first level of learning, but there's some mindfulness there's some immaturity, and or certain students are ahead of others, and you have to be mindful, patient, helpful, kind. And so sometimes it's just helpful for them to go through this explicitly, because I have noticed improvement in that patience, and they're not all worked up, and then they're willing to work. I think I'm getting long here. I'm trying to cover everything. And then tracking student progress was one of them, because we're talking about where they fall on their proficiency. If they feel like they're a 3, or are they feeling more advanced? What can they do to advance up the scale? And for the most part, I feel like their responses are, even if they're getting a 70 in the class, they're like, well, it's just on me. I haven't turned in these assignments, but I know what I need to do. I just haven't done it. And but what is presented, I know how to go about doing it. I just haven't done it. What's clear, most of the time they're like, everything's clear. I don't have really any questions. I could do some more practice. What is confusing? A couple vocabulary words and concepts, but for the most part, they put it on themselves, and they're like, I know what I need to just finish, and I'm behind and haven't turned it in. Let me make sure I've covered everything. And so on my next video, I'm hoping to cover some of those holes, like some of my direct instruction examples, applying knowledge, so kind of those middle ones. So I was hoping to cover the design area, elements 1 through 3, elements 4 and 5, and then 19 for reflecting on learning, and then 32 motivating and inspiring. You'll see a little bit of with itness, and you'll see a little bit of adherence to rules, but for the most part, that's what I wanted to show in the first video, and I think I did that, but give me feedback if I need to do anything else. Thank you, and we'll see you in my next 2 video sessions.